Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Leah Fleiter and Scott Rothschild from the Kansas Association of School Boards with your daily update for Wednesday, March 10th. Mark will be, Mark is staying behind at the Capitol to cover a conference committee on the Kansas Emergency Management Act that's being updated to reflect the pandemic and how the state might respond to statewide emergencies in the future. So he's covering that for us. And Scott and I will try to handle what happened today in the state legislature, what might happen tomorrow, and also state board activities this week. So today, we just finished listening to the House K-12 Education Budget Committee discussion of Senate Bill 235, which is the back to school bill that says that all school districts must offer an in-person option by March 26th. You probably will not be that bill passed out favorably of committee. They recommended it to the floor of the full House in spite of some attempts by Democrats to amend the bill and several questions by opponents of the bill as to why this is even necessary. You know, I think most of us know that many, if not most of our schools are already open in person, or if they are not fully open in person, they intend to be so in the next couple of weeks. So Mark testified for KASB in opposition to the bill. He said there are a lot of problems with this bill as far as whether it's even a mandate. Is it a mandate going forward for future emergencies? You know, regardless of this current pandemic, what happens in the next public health emergency or other statewide emergency? There are a lot of issues around, local control. And so KASB opposed the bill, but given the makeup of that committee, it's not surprising that the bill did pass out favorably to the House floor. Scott, do you want to comment on anything that struck you during the debate today?
Well, just that, they're obviously fast tracking this bill since the deadline in the bill is to have an in-person option by March 26th, which is right around the bend. So, I mean, I think they announced they were hearing it today. They passed it out today. So this is just a fast track kind of quick pitch by the supporters of this bill.
That's right. And the chair noted, hey, if we pass this out today and the House passes it on the floor soon, that's a real signal to people that we mean business, So I obviously, legislature trying to send a message that they would like to see everybody reopen in person. Also today on bills we were following for you, Senate Bill 13 is the tax transparency bill that was amended by the House on March 4th, I think that was a week ago Thursday, to include schools in the notice and protest petition provisions of this bill that repeals the tax lid, which our city and county friends really appreciate, but in return requires local governments, and now that includes school boards at this point, to publish a notice if they're going to be raising their budgets or raising their mill levy above the revenue neutral level, and then they have to, hold hearings and allow citizens to protest that budget or that increase. I think there are a lot of concerns by a lot of folks on some of the timing of this. The clerks would have to notify school districts by like July 15th of what their revenue neutral rate might be or would be, and then you would have to turn your budgets around by, as in August, as we do. It could very well tighten that time frame quite a bit. There have been a lot of questions raised about the bill, and we were expecting perhaps a motion to just go ahead and have the Senate agree with that House amendment and pass the bill out theoretically, to Governor Kelly, but that did not happen. So we don't know if that might indicate that a conference committee might meet to try to hash out whether schools really need to be included in this bill. We do not believe they do. We have issued a statement to that effect, and so we'll be continuing to monitor that piece of legislation for you. Procedurally, again, today in the legislature, they were coming back after a couple of day break, and they did resurrect House Bill 2119, which, as you know, is that catch-all bill that has vouchers, it has remote learning limits, it has all kinds of things That bill has been placed on the House calendar again. It is below the line, which means it is not yet scheduled to be debated. So it could be considered at any time now in the next, several days or weeks. So we would ask you to keep up the pressure on your local members of your House of Representatives to vote no on that bill. It's a bad bill, and we have a special landing site on our homepage for you to access all kinds of information about why this is such a bad bill. If you go to kasb.org and then click on advocacy, you'll see an entry for House Bill 2119. Click on that, gives you all kinds of talking points and all kinds of information to use to advocate against that bill, and we need to keep up the pressure. Tomorrow, the Senate Education Committee has scheduled a hearing on Senate Bill 208, which is the bill that prohibits transgender females from participating on girls' sports teams, girls or women's sports teams, either at the K-12 or post-secondary level, college level. That bill we thought perhaps had died, but it has been resurrected. It's been blessed, and so there will be a hearing and possible action on that bill tomorrow. KASB was neutral on that bill because we do not have specific policy direction from our members, but we did note it raises some questions that probably could best be resolved by Keisha, and Keisha already has a policy about transgender athletes participating on teams. So we just are letting you know that bill is scheduled for some sort of action tomorrow at 1:30 in the Senate Education Committee. I think that's all I have for bills for today. Meanwhile, Scott has been following the State Board of Education today and yesterday, and so I'll throw it to him for an update on that.
Okay, thank you, Leah. Yeah, I've been hanging out with the State Board for 2 days, and they heard a lot of information. Commissioner Randy Watson had a lot of information about learning loss, and it's preliminary. It's kind of spotty, but definitely we're seeing kids, especially in the early grades, struggling with progress in reading and math. And so we're going to have to deal with this, and basically it's going to take a few years. And luckily we have a federal government that is responding. And today in Washington, the U.S. House passed the $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief plan. And so this is going to result in Kansas getting about $600 million more dollars for COVID-related expenses, such as learning loss. Now, we've already gotten about $400 million in previous federal relief packages. So Kansas is going to get about $1 billion in COVID-19 federal assistance that is going to be around for about the next 2 or 3 years. So that was a big thing that the State Board has been talking about. The State Board has appointed a task force to kind of oversee and guide the expenditure of these funds. So this is something we're going to be hearing about for a long time. So that was the major thing that the State Board was dealing with over the past couple of days.
All right, and I think we have already begun to hear, and you will continue to hear criticisms that the legislature does not need to provide additional funding for schools because we're getting all of this COVID money. So please be ready to talk about what you're spending that COVID money on, especially learning loss, things like that, because it is going to continue to be an issue as the legislature works toward a final budget and towards final adjournment for the year. I think that is it for tonight. Thanks for following us, and we will see you again tomorrow.